I'm Victoria Haven. I'm an artist living and working in Seattle. I tend to be what I call an episodic worker, which means that my bodies of work are usually in response to a particular idea or question. I have a very strong interest in abstraction, and that's a thread that's continued throughout my work for the last 2 decades. As I approach my work, I'm always looking or open to source material, and I ended up in LA in a sort of self-orchestrated residency. I just looked at the geography down there, the climate, like the light, and I kept waiting for some epiphany. It led me to a Stanley Kubrick show at LACMA. I ended up kind of fixating on The Shining. I was standing over that hedge maze. I took that little snapshot that I took of the hedge maze and I manipulated it in a way that is very natural for me. Cutting and pasting is very much a part of my practice. I took those elements and I cut them up. You know, some of it I did in Photoshop, some of it I did in Xeroxing and gluing and cutting and collaging. Text has been creeping into my work over the last several years. Dealing with abstraction in my work, I started thinking about language as itself as an abstraction. And especially because I was out of town, I was communicating a lot by phone and through text. And I started examining the kind of abstraction of these dialogues that we have on a daily basis. There's a lot of slippage that occurs in our conversations with one another, and like the nuance of actually hearing somebody's voice is lost in these digital dialogues. I took one word from every conversation, every response that I had, and I selected a word from whoever it was that I was communicating with. And I just started creating these lists of words. They're both found objects in a way. One's a found word or an extracted word from an existing conversation. One's a found form from an existing structure. I liked that these two bodies of work kind of revealing themselves at the same time, but having this relationship with each other. I just envisioned it on a black rectangle. I don't know if the idea or the form came first, but basically what I saw was a white word on a black screen, which to me instantly evoked this idea of subtitles. That's what it looks like, but it also carries that association of translation. I grew up here and was born in Seattle, so I feel like the Northwest has always shaped my sensibilities as an artist. This idea of being sort of sandwiched between these two mountain ranges, for instance, which can be seen as both a metaphorical boundary in some ways and something to kind of push up against. That idea of a border or boundary can provide comfort, but it also can produce a sense of claustrophobia at times. So I think there's been this sort of push and pull for me in terms of my relationship to the Northwest, in that I've always wanted to kind of see what's on the other side.